Have you ever been really, really angry at someone or a situation, and you felt like if you didn't get the anger out, that you were just going to explode inside? And it started to build inside you until you felt like you needed to punch or kick a wall or do something to get it out? Does that mean that you've gone over the deep edge? Does it mean that you're ready for the loony bin? No, it just means you're human. Hi, my name is K.A Bloch, and I am the award winning poet and author of 4 books that consist of poetry and prose. My channel is called The Practical Poet, and each week on my channel, I feature a different video poetry reading from one of my 4 books, or maybe even some new material. And the poem that I'm talking about this week has to do with a lot of my poems this month have to do with mental health and mental health awareness, with May being Mental Health Awareness Month. And this poem comes from my 3rd book. And this book is called Gather Seeds of Hope. And the name of this poem is called Breakdown. And this has to do with that anger that tends to build up inside of us when we're really mad about a situation or feeling really emotional about something. And we just don't know how to productively deal with those emotions. And we feel like, that, remember in the cartoons when like Fred Flintstone or something would get really angry and the steam wouldn't be coming out of his ears. We feel like that. And actually, that would be a nice way to release the anger. But as humans, we don't really have that option, right? We can't allow the steam to kind of come out of us like a tea kettle. So we just have to suck it up, and we have to find different ways to deal with it. Have you ever been in like a public place and you've seen somebody really angry and we all kind of back away from them? A few weeks ago, I was in a road rage incident and it got really, really heated. And this guy was all kinds of mad, and it got a little dangerous, and the police were called and stuff like that. So, anger can be a very unproductive or very scary thing when you're witnessing it, or when you are, kind of a victim of somebody else's anger. Luckily, nothing bad happened, but it really could have. There were some very high emotions, myself included. I was getting mad at the way that this guy was reacting. So it can be, unproductive ways to deal with anger. And if you've ever been in a situation where you've seen somebody really angry, or you've been like at a grocery store or a restaurant where somebody's angry about the bill, or they feel like they didn't get the price that they were supposed to get, or what have you, and they're taking it out on the waitress or the waiter or the cashier, and everybody's kind of backing away from them. We don't want to get sucked into the crazy. Everybody kind of takes a step back, and we all feel a little bit of sympathy for the person that is on the receiving end of that anger. And we don't even maybe know the situation, but we pretty much always take their side. I mean, unless they're not being kind about the situation, but for the most part, we are kind of like, we don't want to get involved. We all pretty much take a step back and say, I'm just going to go down a different aisle, or I'm going to go to a different register and pay for this, or I'm going to get out of this situation. Again, we don't want to get sucked into the crazy. And women, and I shouldn't even say crazy, it's a normal human emotion, right? It just comes out in different ways. But as women, we're often told to keep our emotions in check, and to not show our anger, not to show our emotions. Women are a lot of times told it's not ladylike if we display any kind of anger, or if we shout, or if we raise our voice even a little bit. We're told to kind of calm down. And I don't know about you, but anytime somebody tells me to calm down, it definitely has the opposite effect. So it's really kind of a counterproductive phrase, because it just sends me completely over the edge in the opposite direction. Anger is like a balloon. If you squeeze it too hard in one direction, it's going to pop out in another way. And maybe those ways are ways that are not productive to relationships, or your job or your friendships. You might start to make kind of sarcastic comments or snide comments, or you might just appear to be angry all the time. And people might start to not really want to associate with you very much, because they feel that you're angry all the time. And so we really do need to find an outlet for that anger. Recently, there's been a surge of these rage cages that they're called, or like axe throwing, where you can go and you can destroy stuff, or you can throw stuff in a safe environment, and you can get that anger out. And I think in our society, we kind of need that. We're all a little bit stressed, and April was Stress Awareness Month, and it's interesting that it rolls right into May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, because the two really do go hand in hand. When your stress levels are super high, that impacts your mental health. And when your mental health is out of whack, that can be very stressful as well. And anger does play into all that as well. So it's all kind of interrelated. Stress, mental health, anger, all of those different emotions that we feel can really impact our mental health. And so as humans, we really do need a way to productively, get that anger out. And like I said, if we don't deal with it, we end up, feeling like we're going to explode. We get that steam coming out of our ears, or, we do something crazy like, slash someone's tires, like in the Carrie Underwood song, and that we definitely don't want to do anything illegal or do anything that's going to, cause big harm or impact to anybody else when we're super angry. So we do need to find those productive ways to deal with that anger. A lot of times, once the anger, however you get it out, and hopefully it is in a productive way, maybe go for a run or a long walk or listen to some music, take a bath, whatever, helps to kind of calm things down. Or, talking to somebody, talking to a therapist, or maybe even just yelling into, something, not at somebody, but yelling into an empty space, or going to one of those rage cages, or what have you. Once you kind of get the anger out, it's interesting how much clarity tends to bloom, because when we're super angry like that, we can't make good or rational decisions. We have that kind of cloud over our eyes, and all we can see is the anger. All we can see is how we were wronged, or how wrong the situation was, or, we didn't get our way. This person was mean to me, that road rage incident, this guy, he called me all kinds of different names, and all you tend to focus on is all the negative things. And you can't make those good or rational decisions. You're kind of in this circular loop where you just keep focusing on the anger, or what has you in such a state, and everything else seems to kind of be put on hold, or you make those bad decisions. But once you let the anger out, and once you start to breathe and kind of calm down, that's when the clarity starts to come in. And that's when maybe you can look back at the situation. You can maybe see if you did make some mistakes in the situation, or if you caused it, if you caused the anger, kind of your role in the anger, and what, led you into that situation in the first place. And then, you can start to maybe put things behind you and start to move on, and maybe deal with it in other ways. Speaking of dealing with it in non-productive ways, there was a time I was so angry that I threw my cell phone across the room in my kitchen, and, put a big old hole in my kitchen wall that I now have covered with a painting. So, it's a reminder, though, every now and then, when I take that painting down to clean around it or something like that, and I see that big gaping hole, and I'm reminded of a time when I didn't deal with my anger super productively. So as a kid, I was a puncher. I would punch walls. I would kick walls. My dad had to repair more than once, the drywall where my fist went through it. So I'm happy that I've learned ways to deal with that anger, and in a more productive way. And like I said, it is interesting. And take note next time you're really angry about something, and when you finally get it out, about how much clearer you feel. Your thinking is clearer. You have that clarity, and that is one advantage. I guess I could, if I had to pick an advantage of being kind of in a rage, is that you do get that clarity, and maybe a different way of looking at things, a different perspective, and maybe it would cause you to make some changes to yourself or to your life, so that anger doesn't come back and haunt you again. So if you do have that kind of blow up, if you do punch the wall or throw your cell phone, like I have done in the past, it doesn't mean that you're crazy. It doesn't mean that, you've gone batshit loony. It just means that you're human. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into the video poetry reading of Breakdown. Before I do that, I'm going to take a quick sip of tea. We have had a ton of rainy weather here, but it's actually a beautiful, nice day today. We are leading into the Memorial Day weekend. Again, it is May, which is Mental Health Awareness Week, or month. So we have about one more week of that left, focusing on some good mental health, and those productive ways that we can deal with our emotions. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into the video poetry reading. If you don't want to stick around for the full video poetry reading, you can read the written copy on my blog, which is at thepracticalpoet.com/blog, and you would look for the poem Breakdown. There are also links to my books, including Gather Seeds of Hope, which is where this poem is featured. And this book is available in a nice hardcover. It's the only one of my books that is available in a nice hardcover. So you can find the link to the book there under the books tab. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into the video poetry reading of Breakdown. One more quick little sip of tea. I feel like I have a scratchy throat today. So good. And here we go. Breakdown from Gather Seeds of Hope. Sometimes when life can be too much and I am at my peak, I feel like if I break inside, it means that I am weak. So I try to hold it all inside and keep up a brave facade. I tell myself it will all work out, and I place my faith in God. It's hard to do and harder still to keep those good thoughts flowing and trust that it will all work out without really knowing. So I smile at folks and they smile back and assume that all is well, but they don't know what's in my head or how the bad thoughts dwell. So perhaps it's better to break down and release it all. Maybe I should scream or shout or punch or kick a wall. Maybe I should throw something. Would that make me feel better? I feel energized inside as I try to hold it all together. But I know I won't do anything, for that is not my style. I'd like to air frustrations out, but I'll just sit a while until I feel anger subside and bad thoughts start to fade. Until they're gone, I'll smile and laugh and carry on with the charade. One thing I know for certain and trust without a doubt, life may knock me down sometimes, but it will never knock me out. So if I feel the need to shout or throw something across the room, it does not mean I've lost my mind. So you should not assume. Sometimes the anger must come out in ways you would not think. It could be getting it all out can keep one from the brink. So if that helps me regain peace, then that's what I shall do. Sometimes you have to break down first before you can break through. Once the anger has moved on and calmness has resumed, then you can move forward because clarity has bloomed. So that is the video poetry reading of Breakdown from Gather Seeds of Hope. And just a couple closing comments on that. In the poem here, the person, presumably probably a woman, because well, I did write it. I am a woman, but I don't always assign gender to my characters. I kind of let it be open to interpretation. But you can tell the person is kind of debating, like they feel like they need to have this breakdown, but they're trying to hold it all inside, keep up that brave facade, smile at people, and when they smile back, everybody thinks all is well, but really inside your blood is boiling. But you're trying not to let the world know that. You're just trying to hold it all together as best you can, and start to realize that maybe I should get it out. Maybe that is going to help me move past this. And so the person starts to feel energized, like, yeah, I'm going to get rid of this anger. I'm going to throw something. I'm going to kick something. I'm going to punch something, or yell, or scream, or shout. But then they say that's not really my style. I need to find a different way to deal with this anger. So the person even says, I won't do anything, for that is not my style. So I'll just sit a while, and maybe that's the way that they deal with it. They just kind of let time pass and just let their anger just kind of subside a little bit. um, you know and it even says on here, until bad thoughts start to fade, I'll smile and laugh and carry on with the charade. And the charade is being just, pretending like all is well, but inside, really boiling with anger, with whatever emotions. And so, even just saying here, so if I do lose my shit basically, and I do throw something across the room, doesn't mean that I have, lost my mind, or that I've gone crazy, or that I need a straitjacket, or even therapy. It just means that, I'm human, and I'm just having human emotions, and I need to get it out and deal with it in any way I can. And once, like I mentioned, once you do that, that clarity does often bloom, and you can kind of look back at the situation in retrospect and realize, maybe your part in it, or ways to prevent it from happening again, so that that anger doesn't come back, because it's not a good feeling when all that anger is built up inside. So hopefully wherever you are having a wonderful, calm day without any anger or heavy emotions involved. Again, like I mentioned, you can find the written copy of Breakdown on my blog at thepracticalpoet.com/blog, and the poem is called Breakdown. Also, links to my book are on the books tab. And I thank you so much for joining me for this video poetry reading. Again, we have one more week of Mental Health Awareness Month, but again, that focus should be on all of the months of the year, not just in April for stress and May for mental health. We really need to focus on that. Things are very stressful in the world right now, and we need those breaks. We need to, know that we're going to be okay. So hopefully, I hope wherever you are, that it's a lovely day, and that you're having a great weekend. It is a Friday. We're leading into Memorial Day weekend here in the U.S. And thank you to all of our troops and all their sacrifices. And with that, I'm going to leave you. If you like this video poetry reading and you want to be notified when I drop another one each week, please hit the like and subscribe button. And again, I thank you so much for joining me, and we'll chat soon. Thanks. Bye.